Day 949 off the grid. What we are looking at here is a device that I made quite some time ago. It's got two inputs, and that socket there's the output. This was actually for the fridge. At one point I had this idea of starting the fridge on a grunty modified square wave inverter to get it going, and then switching over to a nice pure sine wave inverter for clean running. It wasn't actually a great success because sometimes the modified inverter would still have trouble starting the fridge, and sometimes when switching over from one inverter to the other, because of the hiccup in the waveform, the fridge would just go mental and need to be restarted anyway. So yeah, wasn't that great. And of course now we've got the Xantrix inverter, touch wood, that's going brilliantly, and this kind of shenanigans is not necessary. So what we had was two relays. This one here affected the changeover between the two input sources, and this one here was a double pole switch to power up the fridge. So what would happen is that when a signal came down this wire here from the thermostat, this was all low voltage of course, supplied by this transformer, this one will kick in, and then this little circuit here would cause a delay, and about 5 or 10 seconds later this one would kick in to swap the power source over. That was the theory. Of course the problem was, if the fridge failed to start, then it would do all its restarts on the second input, which was the pure sine wave inverter of lower power rating. So I did have an auxiliary circuit that I hooked up that would monitor the current, and if the fridge stalled it would sort of reset the whole thing, but it got a bit silly and I abandoned it, and we don't need it now. However, this box I'm revisiting because it looks like a great foundation for an auto power transfer switch, because all winter so far running off the generator, of course it's a pain in the ass to swap the lights over and to swap the computers over from inverter circuit to generator every time we run the Genny. For the lights it involves a physical plugging in and out. For the computer there is already a power transfer switch in the marine inverter, but because I don't want that operating as a battery charger, every time I fire it up I've got to run into the other shed and turn off the charger before it kicks in. So using this as the transfer switch will save that. We've got two relays, so I thought I might as well do both circuits, kill two birds with one stone. And I'll probably retain the services of the delay circuit, because then I could kind of have this automatic. I could fire up the generator in the Genny shed, flick the breaker on, it would boot up the step down transformer for the 120 volt stuff and allow the generator to stabilize for a few seconds before bang dropping these loads on. Or I could even sequence them. I could leave it how it is now and drop, say, the lights on instantly and then put the computers on after a time once the transformer's booted up. But anyway, I just wanted to film this in its pre-existing configuration before I go ahead and make some sweeping changes. Obviously everything that I need for a automatic power transfer switch is already here, so it's just a matter of rewiring it really. Of course, since I'm doing two circuits, I'm going to have 4 inputs and 2 outputs, so I've got to figure out a way to provide those and blah blah blah, but yeah, won't be too much of a biggie. So here it is, the way it was, turn it into something useful. Well, you know, I thought we'd better check that it does actually still work before I start modifying it. Well, really I'm going to be tearing it apart and rebuilding it almost from scratch. It's just the physical mountings are going to stay, the transformer, the relay board and some of the connectors. But this is how it works. I've twisted these two wires together because that was originally connected to the additional current sensor I was talking about, but that's no longer here. So this clip lead simulates the thermostat switch in the fridge. So if it closes, we'll watch the relays. See, top one went instantly and the other one went with a short delay. Now at the opposite end, the top one will open first and then the other one will change over eventually. See, let's do it again. There's something satisfying about electromechanical or quasi-electronic sequencing circuits, isn't there? There we go. You get the picture. I wanted as simple a circuit as possible here for the delay circuit, so I used a rather large capacitor. That meant I only needed kind of one stage of gain, but that power transistor is still a Darlington transistor, which gives me heaps of gain. And so that's basically it. The capacitor, the resistor, and this relay here, which is the pilot relay. So there is another relay on board, but that's just the pilot relay, which switches these much bigger relays, as you can see here, which will handle quite a few amps. I will keep my progress covered as I go.